Today we're going to reassemble my torn down Galaxy S7. E-Trade Supply noticed that I destroyed my old screen during the removal process, and they were kind enough to send me out a replacement, so thank you very much for that. Before I put this phone back together, let's just appreciate for one quick second how thick this aluminum frame is. And if you remember, one of my complaints about the Nexus 6P was that none of the screws went into metal. If you look at this S7, all of the screws go into metal. It is one very well built phone. The only downside is since it's glued shut, it's kind of hard to work on. So let's get going. Like always, replacement tools and replacement parts like screens and charging ports will be linked down in the video description below. The fingerprint scanner will slide through the frame and then sit down in that little slot that was built for it. The charging port also needs to slip through the frame before we can put the screen back on. Push the charging port down into the little slot itself at the bottom of the phone, making sure the buttons wrap around to the front side. There are 2 screws on the charging port, and then make sure the buttons are sitting down inside of the little groove that they're made for, the back button and the menu button. There should be a little bit of leftover residue on the buttons themselves, so they'll stick down and hold themselves tight. Now, some replacement screens will come with adhesive built into the panel. Other screens will require double-sided tape to be set down inside of the frame. You can buy professional adhesive. I would recommend doing that if you're going to do this repair for customers. Here is a replacement screen. I'm going to remove the protective plastic and then slip the screen connector through the frame, making sure that the connector is not bent or pinched at all inside of the frame itself. I'm going to use the earpiece to help line up the slot on the top of the screen with the phone, and then the home button as well on the bottom, making sure that it all sits tight down inside of the frame. It's a perfect fit. Now we can work on the headphone jack, slip that down inside of the groove, and then put 1 screw on the side of that as well. Now remember that the charging port does connect to the bottom side of the motherboard, so clip that in and then you can set the motherboard down into place, making sure not to pinch any of the other connectors underneath the motherboard, because we will need to plug those in. Once all those connectors are on the right side of the phone, we can take the fingerprint scanner and press that down into the frame. Same thing with the power button and the screen itself. Push the front-facing camera down into its little slot. Same thing with the earpiece and the front sensors. And then the volume buttons on the side also get plugged into the main board. There are 2 wire cables that rest between the charging port and the motherboard, so get those down into place, sitting down inside that little groove. And then we can take the battery, it's going to be the last thing that we plug in, and push that into the motherboard. We can test the phone at this point, which is a good idea. Make sure everything's functional before we put the back tape and put the back glass back down. Everything is good. We're going to turn the phone back off again, flip it around, and then put all the back plastics on. I'm going to start down here with the loudspeaker, set that into place, making sure that I don't pinch any of the wire cables in the wrong spot. Then the wireless charger goes on, and the top plastic piece. Then there's a bunch of screws around the back side, get all those screwed into place. Then we have the funky golden band-aid, we're going to put that back down into place. If anyone has any idea what this is for, please leave a comment down below. There's even some pre-drawn brackets for it. I have no idea why they would put a gold sticker on there. There is professional adhesive available for the rear backs. I will link that down in the video description below. And everything is good. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments. Subscribe if you haven't already, and follow me on Instagram and Twitter for behind the scenes and future projects. And one big last thank you to E-Trade Supply for sending me out the replacement screen. Thank you so much for watching. Hope to see you around.